Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Garrison. I want to welcome you to this session of Humanity Rising as we convene our fourth of 5 sessions on the whole domain of the numerology of harmony. And today we're going to be exploring the numerology of emotions and contemplating beauty. I want to make a few comments, as I have been since October 7th, on what's unfolding in the Middle East. But first, I want to note my new background. I'm in the office here in Washington, D.C., and a couple of days ago, an artist just came by and offered us this work of art that we hung on the wall, which is called The Mothership Reassembled. You know, many of the UFOs that have been retrieved by the U.S. government and other governments have crashed for one reason or another. So his inspiration was the reassembling of the UFO motherships. And this was the work of art that he wanted to give to us just as a gift to grace our offices here in Washington as we embark on our work to facilitate the gathering of all the evidence relating to the UFOs, now called unidentified anomalous phenomena, by all agencies of the U.S. government and contracting organizations, and then working to disseminate this information out to the U.S. public. So I've been deep in the bowels of the bureaucracy and the Senate and the House and the Armed Services Committees and the Intelligence Committees and the Government Oversight Committees to monitor this last piece of legislation, which is going to be creating a 9-person board to oversee this entire process. And because the new Paradigm Institute has been referred to by the latest Senate legislation, and we're peculiarly located to be of assistance in these very weighty matters pertaining to one of the most momentous milestones in the entire history of the human race, the realization that we are not alone, that extraterrestrial intelligences exist. They've been operating on planet Earth for some time, and there's all kinds of evidence that the U.S. government has accumulated, which it is now apparently wanting to disclose. But I want to note as we begin the extraordinarily awful mass shooting that took place in Lewiston, Maine last night, where apparently a single gunman, a male, in multiple locations, shot, scores of people, leaving 16 dead and many others wounded. So far as I know, he has not been apprehended. But I looked up the statistics on mass shootings so far in 2023, and I was shocked to learn that there's been 506 mass shootings so far this year. And I looked at a graph, and as we noted before on Humanity Rising, starting with the pandemic, peaking in 2021 and 2022, this dramatic rise in mass shootings. And now in 2023, the graph is equally dramatic, and it looks like it will either equal or exceed and set a new record for mass shootings in the United States, bearing in mind that a mass shooting is typically defined as a shooting, mostly random, that kills or injures at least 4 people. So if you do the math, This is multiple mass shootings every single day in the United States. And the single thread that I want to draw for our contemplation today is the relationship between the United States being in perpetual war over the last nearly 100 years externally, and the rising tide of violence internally. And this is not unique to the United States. One of the last books that I wrote some years ago now was called America as Empire, where I track the rise of the American imperium against the backdrop of the rise and fall of empires around the world and across history. And one of the characteristics of empires in decline, as they fall, is they engage in more and more senseless wars externally. Reciprocally, the polity experiences a collapse of any kind of civic virtue, and there is rising chaos, rising violence, rising civil strife internally, until, as Arnold Toynbee, the great historian of civilizations and empires, points out, that the empires finally fall because they lose their elasticity to respond creatively to the external environment through diplomacy rather than the military supremacy, and internally because of the collapse of a commonly held code of ethics and morality. And so as an historian, I just watch what's happening to the United States with deep grief as a 10th generation American whose people on my father's side first came to these shores in 1686. One is deeply saddened by the violence that seems to surround this country at this time. And I note this because what we're going to contemplate today is beauty. And how do we, in our beings, how do we cultivate beauty internally? How do we cultivate our personas, that which we manifest to the rest of the world externally? The way we look, the way we comport ourselves. How do we harmonize within and harmonize without, always bearing in mind that we are manifestations of numbers in our most basic incarnational impulse, and that the harmony of numbers is what enables life to live and the cosmos to hang together, as Pythagoras said when he coined the term cosmos, as a beautiful instrument, a beautiful jewel, an unfolding poem or piece of music, which is the cosmos in its numerical manifestation as sound. And for this discussion, we're very privileged to have Suzanne Blons with us. She's known as a beauty shaman. She spent many, many years at Gaia working to beautify many of the people who came through the Gaia network, many of whom have been, on Humanity Rising. And she's dedicated her life to an understanding of harmony, an appreciation and cultivation of beauty, as not only someone with a mastery of cosmetics, but also someone who's deeply philosophically and spiritually dedicated to the adoration of beauty. So Suzanne, I want to welcome you to Humanity Rising. Thank you for joining us as part of this program. And I welcome you and turn the program over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Am I on the, do I need to do anything else? Am I good? Okay, I'm good. Okay, awesome. All right, everybody. Hello, it's so nice to be here. And thank you so much for having me. I'm very, very grateful to be here with all of you. Oh, I'm good. Okay. Because all I see is I'm on like this little part up here, not on the big screen. That must be me that's not doing that. Let me just do that. Okay. In any case, okay, that's better. All right. Anyway, lovely to be here and lovely to meet all of you. So yes, I worked at Gaia for 10 years. I ran the makeup department at Gaia TV. So I was hair and makeup and wardrobe for everybody who came on the shows. And before that, believe it or not, I was at CNN, Fox News Channel, MSNBC in Washington, D.C. So I've worked both sides of the proverbial spectrums of being kind of, if you want to call CNN Fox News Channel in Washington, D.C. as the lion's den. I guess I was in it, but I didn't know I was in it. I was pretty clueless. So I just sort of showed up and, did my job and worked with all these really high level people without really much understanding of what everybody stood for. I really didn't have a political position. It was just, I was there to make everybody look good. But what I love about this experience and what that ties into what we're doing today is that really what I've noticed there is when I was at Washington, D.C., is that it was about believe, right? You want to make people look good, but really it was about believing their narrative, right? So we want to make these people believable. So that was my focus. It was, trust what they're saying, trust this person. And they would try to get people who, of course, look good, especially Fox, right? It's all about how you look and they're very showy. And I became very disgusted with all of it, right? Because it's not about truth. It's not, well, depends on your view of the news, but for me, it's not about truth, right? And I was behind the scenes watching all of this. So when I left and then, bit of time span, had kids, went to Gaia TV, the whole thing switched, right? It wasn't necessarily about that. It was about authenticity. And that's where we're going to segue into truth and beauty and my very favorite topic that I love talking about. So I do want to say, for those who are here now, I really love interaction. And I love knowing what direction you all like to go, what you really want to hear, what you'd like to ask. So please, as we go along, if you have a question or something you agree with, or maybe even disagree with, please write it. I can read and talk at the same time. I'm a wonderful multitasker. So I really want to be sure that I'm talking about things that are really hitting you and your interests with this particular subject. So, all right. So I want to share my screen. And I want to share just a presentation. I just want to show you, we're going to go through what I'm going to talk about, just so we have some, great, thank you, Shannon. Just so we have some idea of where we're headed here and what I'm going to talk about. And then we are going to talk about some basics, truth around, we're going to talk about skincare specifically, because I know there's quite a lot of men here. And just want to touch on the men before I go to the screen share, is that I've made up more men than women, honestly, because, I was in Washington, D.C. So, most of the people on camera are men. I loved making up men. I loved dealing with men on camera. And then when I was in Colorado, for some bizarre reason, I got taken on as Peyton Manning's makeup artist. So I ended up doing a ton of stuff with Peyton Manning. So, and plus a guy, like, there's a lot of men on camera like Joe Dispenza and Greg Braden and, all the people that went on that channel. So, so I am going to speak to men's concerns. I guess that's why I'm bringing this up, to say that I don't believe skincare and even makeup is not necessarily just a female thing. It's a male, and beauty, right? It's a whole thing. So, all right. So let's go to a screen share, and I want to share there we go. Okay. Full screen. All right. So Okay, so I kind of changed the title here to how to rise above the narrative that aging is bad. So I think this is for me, this is one of the main question marks of what we're going to talk about. Because this is what we are pummeled with, right, in our society. Aging is bad. Youth is great. When I have 2 daughters in their 20s, so they are gorgeous. They've got the world at their feet. They're in college. They're having a wonderful time. That's supposed to be the prime time of life. And then as you get older, everything you can do to not look old, especially women, that's a huge thing, but it's even big on men. So, I think this is so toxic. And I think part of one of the things I'm deeply fascinated with right now is what is the new human? What are we heading into as a society when it comes to not just beauty, but who we are, right? Which does include that aspect. So if we're leaving behind this toxic idea, what is the new idea? And it has to do a lot, I think, with health, with real health. So that's partly what we're going to talk about as we get into skincare, the less of this whole anti-aging malarkey, which I don't side with at all. All right, so this is what we're going to talk about. What is beauty? How can we authentically? Oh, geez. Okay, this is like difficult. I can't read this whole thing because it's a bit blocked and I'm having a hard time getting out of it. That's fine. Okay, what is beauty? How can we authentically, I can't read that last word, but basically, how can we be our authentic self, right? Because authenticity is a key important question, I think, in the spiritual community. That's one of the main questions we're going to start with. How does reflecting our unique inner beauty create harmony and empower emotional well-being, as well as being taken seriously? So that's a huge interface that I noticed at Gaia. We're going to talk about that. How can we leave the chaos that aging is bad? What is the connection between inner wisdom and outer beauty? That's a very important question. Okay, so this is skincare. We're going to get into that, but I did want to share, these are some makeovers I've done on my YouTube channel. So I have a YouTube channel called The Beauty Shaman. I want to share these first because I want to show what I consider to be a transformational view of no matter who sits down to just help them feel their best and look their very best. It's really about bringing out your authentic self. I love doing these. This is one of my all-time favorite things in life. I don't care about making up famous people anymore. I've made up tons of famous people. I want to work with just average, normal people. And this is a friend of mine. I called her into my studio and we did this one day. And I just think, look at it. I mean, just you can feel the expression of joy that she just felt so incredible about herself. So I love that. Oh, these are great questions. Oh my gosh. Thank you. I am going to get to these questions. Okay, so this is a very young woman, obviously a friend of mine. I lived in Ecuador for a year, and this was one of my friends. She was in her 20s. She was hilarious. I loved her. But party maker, again, this transformational idea. This is my next door neighbor in Ecuador, like major, like just the effervescent feeling we have. And men have this too. I can't tell you the amount of men I make up, and I'll step back and they go, oh my gosh, like they really notice what's going on. They really see the difference in themselves. This is a woman who was from Iran, actually. She was Persian. So I loved making her up. She spoke like 5 languages, was an artist, as you can tell, very creative, very spiritual. What an incredible human she was. This was one of my favorite experiences. This is my YouTube and stuff, but I'll get back to that. All right, so I'm going to close this out. There we go. And go back to just talking to the camera. Okay. Okay. And then we'll go back to some of the questions. Okay, so what I really, let me go, be sure I'm answering questions as we go. Okay, so let's start with the idea of aging is bad, right? So I want to shift out of this idea of aging is bad. So how do we do that? So let's hit on authenticity. So, because I think this is part of it. Like, okay, we don't want to be fake, right? We don't want to present ourselves to the world or to, ourselves or anybody in a fake way, because that is the narrative of society. It's, don't like be this little cookie cutter, right? Because that's the most presentable. And that's what you see on the news and movies for the most part. It's becoming more and more real, which I love, and more diverse, which I absolutely love. But what happens is, I think people then come into, and I noticed this at Gaia, like say somebody came into CNN or Fox, they had their suits, they had, they knew, right? It was all about the presentation. Didn't matter about their personal morality or their spirituality or who they really were. None of that was relevant. It was, how do you look, right? Oh, speak slowly. All right, I absolutely will. I'm sorry. I do tend to go a little fast. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so when people came in then to Gaia, what I noticed was they wanted to really be authentic, right? That was very important. But what did that look like? So I'll give you an extreme example. And I think this is an important thing for us all to kind of figure out for ourselves what this looks like for ourselves. So for example, a woman came in and she brought for her clothing, because I did the wardrobe as well. And I asked people to bring a few change of clothes. And then I have some of my own there, or stuff that we kept at Gaia in the makeup room, so that I could, if people didn't have an appropriate top or whatever it was, I would help out. Especially the men would bring in very inappropriate things. I was like, come on, guys, nice shirt. Anyway, so this woman came in and she had worn out yoga clothes in a bag that were wrinkled. And she wanted to wear that because it was authentic. And she was a healer, a very, very skilled healer. And yes, I will talk about earth-friendly beauty products. That's a great question. So what I looked at and I was like, okay, the host who's interviewing you has this incredible off-white suit and Manolo Blahnik shoes. So if you're in the fashion industry, Manolo Blahnik shoes range of between $600 and $700. And the host just loved these shoes. And so she had a whole bunch of them. She loved to wear them. I love that. That's wonderful. I don't find that wrong or bad or anything. So basically she was going to be interviewed by someone who looked incredible, really presented herself so incredibly. And she was going to wear worn out yoga clothes. And I thought, wow, it's interesting how we often equate authenticity to not presenting ourselves in our very best light. And it's a very interesting kind of thing. And so I was like, well, what if, so I tried to engage her in more of a discussion around how can we have this look a little bit more even, on camera. That would be great. And she wouldn't hear of it. Like, she really wanted to wear her yoga clothes. And I said, I can't do anything about that, right? That's if someone wants to do that. So our best light, that's right. So that's what she wore in front of the camera. The producer was mortified. I mean, I did the very best I could to change her mind. But I think what that brings up in me is what is your best light? What is authentic for you? And then also, what is the situation you're going into? And I think in the spirituality community, this is a very important point, because we want to be seen, we want to be heard, but we also want to be ourselves. And I think, especially if we have a message, or if we're healers or that sort of thing, we want, it's that fine line. And I always found that line can be a little bit tricky, especially for women, because there's so much pressure on women to not age. At CNN and Fox, I would see, and I'm sure all of you can completely empathize with this, women who turned 50, I'm 57, who turned 50 and either would have to start getting a lot of work done, or they'd get fired. Like, your job was on the line. And I had the biggest empathy for these women and felt really bad for them, and watched for those who put their foot down and said, I'm not going to go that route, they'd lose their job. So, I think as we head into the future human, it's okay, let's say you can be, 70, right? And a female in front of a camera, and be yourself, whatever that looks like for you, with work done, without. I don't really take a stand on that. I think that's personal. But I would say, what is that for you, and men too? And how can we present ourselves in the best light that is authentic for you and appropriate? So that's my vein with all of that, which leads us to self-care. So let me be sure I keep track of time here. So self-care, I think self-care is, it's an overused term. I almost don't like to use it as much as I don't like to use the word anti-aging, even though we're all curious about that. And we are going to talk about that, and clean beauty products, because that was a question that a couple of people brought up here. So, what is that basically? So I'm sorry, I don't like those terms because I think they're overused. I think we have pictures in our minds of what that looks like. So really they're the only terms I know how to use and how to talk about, because they best encapsulate what I'm trying to say. But I think the self-care aspect for me also includes spirituality. And I think this is what, right, the society basically sort of misses, right? The main idea when they're talking about self-care is do something that feels good, that makes you happy. For men, maybe it's go out and go golfing, or I don't know. Men don't struggle with this like women do. We tend to be overgivers for the most part. So, what is that, right? And so I don't think it's any of those things. I think it's what it is for you, and bringing the spiritual into it. So, when I do a lot of live events on my own, and I talk a lot about meditation. So my audience is very diverse. So, I'm a meditator. I've been a meditator for many, many years. And for me, that helps me connect with my guides. It helps me stay really centered. It helps me be able to hear what they're trying to tell me. The world can be very loud. So I really love meditation. I'm hugely into that. Not everybody is. That's not how everybody operates in the spirituality space. So what I'd like to always go for is take it all into consideration. It's your mind, your body, your spirit, your soul. Like there's so many other aspects, your heart. So beauty for me is growing in all of those areas, taking care of all of those areas, and really being in your higher mind, in your highest and best self, as much as humanly possible. Obviously, we're going to dip down, and that's humanity. But when it comes to the external, I think we have to start with the internal. So I'm going to head back to my share screen here. And we're going to talk a little bit about this. Okay. I do want to share some stories about Gaia and people. I'm sure that would interest some of you with some of the people I've worked with, but I want to be sure to do that. Okay. Okay, I want to be sure I answered all those questions there. Just skimmed that. Okay. So we're going to talk, I'm going to hit on these and then riff on some others, on people I've worked with, and share a little bit more about that. But I did want to start with health and wellness and, because I'm about presenting yourself, right? So one of the points I really want to make about wellness and taking care of yourself and beauty is it's all about inner. Like many of you probably know this, but I'm a licensed esthetician. I'm a professional makeup artist. It's 80% your inner health. It really is. I think if taking care of your inner health, number one, is going to help your skin. And men, this is so important. I can't tell you the amount of men that have sat in my chair that are in a terrible state. Their skin looks really bad, and you can't really put makeup on, really bad skin. It's really hard. And then I would have to sort of, try to moisturize, try to help them a little bit. And I think what I would like to say to the men is it's okay to take care of your skin. You're not being vain. A lot of you just don't even think about it. One time Peyton Manning came in, we were shooting some images for his TV show that he had at the time. And he had just gone to get a facial, which I loved. I thought that was wonderful that he did that. Of course, he's an on-care camera, but he was super blotchy and all over the place, but he didn't want me to put very much makeup on. So it was sort of interesting. I thought, well, I guess the retoucher will be busy today. I can't totally cover that. But he was great to work with. But I think it's to give men permission to do that. It's okay. And you know what? There's no difference between skincare for women and skincare for men. Like there's no difference. It's not like you have to buy men's skincare. Skin is skin. Like don't worry about that. Okay. One of the questions Stan just brought up, how does what a person is thinking at the moment affect how nice they look in that moment? Right. Of course, having positive thoughts are really going to affect how we are with people, right? And how we look, and having our eyes light up and being in a positive state of mind. Of course, our mind really does influence that. I think that's why I love meditation so much, and why just awareness is so key, and checking in with yourself and staying in your higher mind for the most part. So, all right, so let's keep going here. All right, so I want to be sure have I answered everybody's questions here? If I haven't, I will pan back up here when I get out of this screen share. All right, so it's 80% inner wellness and it's 20% topical products. So I'm not going to talk about topical products it's so much. I am going to share the key topical products you need. I actually sell products on my website. I'm not going to talk about any of those, but I did want to mention it so that if any of you want to know what I use, you can go look at what I use. Basically, my website is thebeautyshaman.com. All right. So so inner wellness has to do with, I think, taking nutritional supplements. That's really what that has to do with. I see a naturopath. I take a ton of vitamins. I think many of you will agree with that. I didn't go into that in this slide, but I do think, thank you, Shannon, for posting that. I do think that being really keyed into your health and taking what your body needs is super important. And this is something I talk about a lot, even with my own audience. And I think they probably think I'm a little bit wackadoodle, but I do talk about muscle testing. I do a ton of muscle testing on myself, or you can use the pendulum in order to figure out how much of a product, how much of, like, say, vitamin C you need. So, your skin is the largest organ in your body. So taking care of your skin is taking care of your health and taking care of your body. So taking vitamin E, A, D, I'm just going to rattle off a few of these, zinc, magnesium, essential fatty acids, which is omega 369, black currant oil. Those are some just basics I think that everybody needs, because our soil is not what it needs to be. The food in our food system, as many of you know, is not what it needs to be. And it really affects our general health and our skin. I would say for people, if you have a skin condition like rosacea or eczema or excessively dry skin or excessively oily skin, that really is a health issue. It's a gut issue. And our guts are kind of messed up because there's so much glyphosate, and I'm sure you guys know this. It's a really, it's very challenging, just our food system. So getting on really good nutritional supplements and really taking care of your gut, taking probiotics, things like that are really going to help your skin. It's going to make a huge difference. So I would definitely encourage that. And then with, and drinking fresh water. I mean, I didn't go into health here too much, but spring water and taking a little bit of Celtic or Himalayan salt with every glass of water, that really helps your body to retain the water. Those are just some basic things. I think most of us, I think if you're researching and taking care of your health, you are going to be doing these things, eating organic food, staying away from anything in a package, try to eat as much from the ground as possible, vegetables and fruits and that sort of thing, really, really helps your skin. And then in topical products, I'm going to touch on this. The topical products that people, yes, good. Thank you, Cynthia. Zinc, magnesium, omega, those are all, that's what I said. I'm sorry, you're reiterating what I said. But those are all really, really crucial things. And you will notice a transformation in your skin when you start doing these things, if you're not already doing them. I have noticed, I've been doing them, I think I saw a naturopath maybe 10 or 15 years ago, and it got me on the right track. And, it's made a huge difference in my skincare. So I really encourage you to do that. If you don't have the finances to see a naturopath, it can really get expensive. The pendulum and the pendulum book is phenomenal. I don't know if you have that, but I love using that because it can tell you what vitamins you need, how much you need, what your body's depleted in. I think that's one of the best and fastest ways to figure this out. And sometimes we can't figure it out and we do need help. All right. So just for those of you who are interested in actual skincare, like items themselves. And this goes for men and women. This is all of you. These are the active ingredients, what you're interested in, what you want to look for when you shop for skincare. The market itself, the skincare market, is absolutely, it's ridiculous. I can't tell you the amount of products I look at that I'm shocked the claims that they make, and I'm shocked at the price that they ask. I'm always shocked. Like, wait a minute, you have no active ingredients and you're asking how much money. So these are what you need to be aware of when it comes to taking care externally for topical products. You're looking for the active ingredient in there. There's only about 13. I'm going to mention the most important in this slide: vitamin C, retinol, alpha hydroxy acids, hyaluronic acid, essential fatty acids, which are ceramides, and niacinamide. That's what you're looking for. So when you look at an ingredient deck, just see if those are in it. And vitamin C, you're looking for tetrahexydecyl ascorbate, which is THDA. Yes, the Pendulum book, Anne-Marie. So if you go on Amazon and you put in Pendulum book, there's several different ones coming up, and I can't think of the author. If anybody knows one of the main authors of the Pendulum, the author of it, the guy, I can see his face. I can't think of his name. I definitely recommend getting it. It's fantastic. Yeah, and Cynthia uses the Pendulum. I'm a huge Pendulum fan. I love Jean Slater. So Jean Slater teaches Pendulum. If any of you are interested in that, she does it. She's been on Regina's Open Minds many times and is fabulous. I've used her. I've actually hired her quite a few times myself, just so I could learn more. She has courses. I definitely recommend that. I love the Pendulum. I'm a huge fan. So look for tetrahexadecyl and vitamin C, tetrahexadecyl ascorbate, THDA. That's what you're looking for. In fact, I'm going to type that. I don't think I can type on this. All right. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. All right. I can't type. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I'll type it once I go out of this. So that's what you're looking for. Retinol is other active ingredient, alpha hydroxy acids. You're looking for these in the dropdown. And as far as products, you need a vitamin C. This is men included. You need a retinol. And you really just need essential fatty acids, and that's internal. So that's omega-369 taken internally. They're also externally in products. But if you get a vitamin C and a retinol and a hyaluronic acid, you are so set. Really, the top two is vitamin C and retinol. And the higher on the ingredient deck that is, the better. Oh, I think, did I just hit balloons? That's kind of interesting. The higher on the ingredient deck, the better. So in other words, if vitamin C doesn't show up until number 20, you're not getting any. So really pay attention to where things show up. I've done a lot of videos on this. It's super important. And then if you want to take it a step further, men and women, you can do topical treatments like peels, microdermabrasion, microneedling, red light therapy, that sort of thing. And then non-toxic sunblock as needed. I don't wear it every day if I'm not going to be out in the sun. I don't think we need it as religiously as often people say. And that's my own take on that. Okay, so I'm going to get out of this. I think I did show everybody this. I am going to stop share. There we go. And come back. Okay, so a question here. Okay, THDA, tetrahexadecyl. Oh, Cynthia, you looked it up. Wonderful. That's the word that you're looking for to look in the drop down. It is an oil soluble vitamin C. It is absolutely, there's actually 8 different types of vitamin C, but it's the most powerful and the most stable. And that's one of the reasons I bring that up. Really look for products with that particular type. Okay, so this says, Carol Sue asks, what about putting mango, cacao, coffee grounds, avocado, not in that order? That's a good thing. And which would be the good order? You know, I love using things like this. My issue, and this is just my own thing, is I am interested in products, not because, okay, let me reframe this. If you're going to use these mangoes and cacao and that sort of thing, they sit on the surface of the skin. They don't have the ability to go underneath the skin. That's actually a formulation issue. So, for example, a lot of people like to use coconut oil on their skin or just a face oil. Face oils are huge. I have about, 3 or 4 bottles upstairs that companies have sent to me. So if you take a face oil and you put it on your skin, it's not going to go in unless it's formulated to go underneath the top layer of your skin. So that's why you put oil on and an hour later, your skin is dry again, because it doesn't have the ability to actually go into the cell and regenerate your skin. And this is the same with things like using avocado or mango or any of the things that you brought up. I would eat them. Avocados obviously are amazing. They're full of essential fatty acids. Eat those internally, and cacao, who doesn't love cacao? I would say take those internally. Putting coffee externally in a product, if you get a product with coffee in it, that's fabulous. That's actually great for inflammation. It actually brightens your complexion. Coffee is a great ingredient. A lot of skincare companies use it. So, and yogurt, I mean, all those things, you can put those on your skin. It's not really going to get beneath the top layer of your skin. So here's my trick to get things deeper into your skin is get a moisturizer, spend some money on either a vitamin C serum or a moisturizer that are formulated to go beneath your skin. So the way you're going to know that is if you have an oil soluble vitamin C or a well-formulated moisturizer, not just something you sort of bought off the shelf, right? It's actually, it takes a little bit of discernment. You want something that's a really good quality. And if the basis of a lot of these moisturizers is water, it's not soaking into your skin. Water doesn't soak into your skin. Oil does. So, or getting a formulated oil. That's why the essential fatty acids are so important. So how should we change our regimen for geographic? Great. That's a great question. We'll talk about that. Yes. And yes, the exfoliation on coffee grounds is great. You can definitely use that as an exfoliant. But I think mixing it with a good moisturizer, for example, I like oils. I think they're wonderful, but I take my moisturizer, I mix the oil with it, and then I put it on my skin, or I mix it with my vitamin C or your retinol. It doesn't matter. Those are formulated to actually get underneath your skin. So it's really important to, I think, to have at least a couple products that you spend money on that are good. All your products you do not need to spend money on. Get any cleanser you want. I don't care. Go to Whole Foods or wherever you go. Pick something that says organic. You're good. It doesn't matter. And even general moisturizers, I think, on the whole, doesn't really matter unless you want to actually change your skin or nourish your skin underneath the top layer. If you're into skincare and you're into cell regeneration or the anti-aging, which I hate that phrase because I think we're all aging. Stop saying that word. You know, I'm getting older, nothing I can do about it, right? It's all just going. But I am into that. I am into trying to look my very best. So that's what I look for, right? So that's my idea about that. What was I going to? Oh, so I want to talk for a second about retinol. Oh, good, because Carol Sue just brought up retinol here. I was told that retinol eventually kills the cells. What do you think about that? Okay. Yes, I know we all are. We all are finding skincare as we get older. Like, woo, I need to do that one. All right. So retinol doesn't kill cells. I don't know where you read that. A lot of that really depends on how much. It's vitamin A. Retinol is actually vitamin A. It's a specially formulated vitamin A. So it's actually an organic substance. So I think, though, depending on the product that you have purchased, if it's a retinol that is maybe really cheap and it's very high on the ingredient X, so you've got a huge amount of retinol, right? So you put it on your skin and your skin starts flaking and getting red. You look nasty, you hate it, you think, oh my God, I can't use this. So that's not necessarily true. What it does is it causes, so you got to take this in context, it causes damage to the cell. It doesn't kill it, it damages it. And that's actually a good thing. So think of it like exercise. So you go to the gym, you lift weights, or if you're like me, I'm a runner. I go running every day. I know I shouldn't. Everybody tells me I shouldn't. I don't listen. I go running every day. My muscles get sore, right? Because I'm doing something. And when you lift weights, you actually hurt the muscle. But then when you're resting, your body heals. And that's how you get stronger and how you develop a musculature, right? Men know this very well because most of the time men are in the gym more than women. But I would say that's what you're doing to your skin when you're using retinol is you damage it. So that's why using alpha hydroxy acids, there are 3 of them, and using retinol, and sometimes vitamin C can do this. It does a little bit of damage, and that's good. So I like to use retinols that have vitamin C mixed in it because that's also very nourishing. It goes better goes more deeply into your skin. It's more healing. And I put that on. I use my retinol. I have a very high retinol. So here's the percentage that you want to pay attention to with retinol. Most retinols that you're going to buy in the store or on the market are 0.5%. So this is really, really important. If someone can type that in, because I'm not, maybe I can type that in now. Oh, I can type now. Okay, so most of them are 0.5%, but you are looking for anything between 1% to 5%. That's what you can buy. That's what you can actually buy over the counter. 5% is the highest you can actually buy over the counter. If you want to really like up the ante with retinol, you do have to go to a dermatologist and get a higher than 5%. But what that means is if you use a 0.5%, you're not going to see hardly anything. If you use a 1%, you're going to start to see things. If you use a 5% like I do, you have to use it sparingly because your skin is really going to start to turn over. You're really going to see the dryness, the flaking, all of that. And I want to point this out to men as well. Men, this is a fabulous way to just brighten your skin. It's easy. You use it at night. You use it, I'm speaking to all of you, you use it at night and you sleep so that while you're sleeping, it's like your muscles healing, your skin starts to turn over and heal. But the thing about using retinol is you have to use a sunblock if you go out into the sun. So if it's like today, we have a rainy day, I'm not going to put sunblock on. But if it's a sunny day and I'm going outside and I'm using retinol, which I always use retinol, I would put some sunblock on. Otherwise, it does damage. It's not good for your skin. You really do need to use some sunblock. I use the 5% retinol probably 3 times a week. But I've been doing alpha hydroxy acid peels. They're called acid peels. It sounds like a terrible word. And I know a lot of people in the sort of spirituality community feel like that's just, it's extreme or like there's different views on it. I actually don't find that. I mean, I'm very embedded in as an esthetician. It's like fitness. That's how I look at it. But what it does is miraculous. If you use it over an extended period of time, your skin just starts to really brighten. You start to look a lot better. You can also get sometimes body lotions with retinol in it, very low levels. But again, read the ingredient deck. That's super important. If retinol is number 1, it's probably too strong. It's probably going to be too intense for your skin. So I would look for it a little bit further down the deck, not like vitamin C. You want vitamin C as close to the top as humanly possible. Like number 1, number 2, number 3, those are the top slots, right? Retinol, a little bit further down. So the sunblock I would recommend, you want to find one that is non-toxic. That's super important. There is an ingredient in sunblock and it's not, I haven't had enough coffee to remember that term. Let me have a little more coffee here and it'll come to me. Or maybe as I talk, it'll come to me, the ingredient. But if you go onto EWG, which is the environmentalworkinggroup.org, you can look up sunblocks, non-toxic facial sunblock. That's what you're looking for. And there's quite a lot that are very good. The one I use is Image MD. Not Image MD, it's called Image. The brand is Image. It's actually an esthetician's brand, but I think you can go on the website and just shop. I don't think you have to be an esthetician to buy the retail on their website, but it's called Prevention. I love that one. I've been using it for years. I want to say it is 30%. There's not a huge difference between 30% and 50% coverage of the UVA, UVB. It just means you have to reapply less frequently if you're doing SPF 50, as opposed to SPF 30 or 20. It really isn't that big of a difference. What I do is if I'm out in the sun longer than 2 hours, I reapply no matter what. Put that website in. Absolutely. It's image.com. There you go. Yes. So thank you. Oh my gosh, Cynthia, you rock. Look at you, Image, and you put that on there. So I like that brand because they do a lot of non-toxic products, but they're effective. They actually do something. There's a lot of organic. So I want to hit on this subject too. Organic products are really in. I'm a huge organic fan. I love it. I do a lot of research around organic skincare products. My take is, for the most part, unless a product is formulated by a compounding pharmacist, it's just going to sit on the surface of your skin, including organic. And it would be wonderful if we could just go buy, from the local. I love going to the local outdoor market and buying, whatever, like somebody's made their own lotions and creams. And I love supporting local people. I'm sure you all are like that. I'll buy it, but I know it's not actually going to get beneath the top layer of my skin. It just can't, because it has to be formulated by somebody who knows how to do that, by a chemist. Basically, it's chemistry. So, when it comes to using organic products, I just say get a cleanser, get a decent moisturizer, maybe get, a good body lotion. There's certain things that it just doesn't matter. Like, that's fine. But if you want to get beneath your skin, you do have to go a little bit higher end. You got to go to something that's formulated properly. I hope that's helpful with the organic thing. So again, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of trying to use as many clean beauty products as possible. All right. So let me hit on, I'm almost done here. So let me hit, just checking the time. Let me hit on makeup, because, I'm a professional makeup artist. I've worked in television my entire career, and I never went into non-toxic products, because my concern was always, when I sit this person in front of a camera, the makeup cannot melt off their face. Organic products, they're not known for staying put because they're organic, right? That's the nature of the beast. It's going to be much more tactile. It's going to, it's not going to be as long lasting because it doesn't have all the terrible toxins in it, unfortunately. I'm being very vague here with ingredient names and things like that on purpose. But so I always used sort of professional grade, professional brand makeup. Now, the longer I've been in the skincare industry over the last 10 years, especially working at Gaia, I think David Avocado Wolf came in and he just wanted me to use all organic products on his skin. And this was early on at Gaia. So I was like, great, like I'm down for it. So I went and bought a foundation. I started getting more into it and interested in it. So I would say, change the blue 2 button. Oh, it says host. Oh, host and panelist. Oh, crap. I'm sorry. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Okay. Awesome. Sorry about that, guys. I was typing things that weren't showing up. The only makeup effect I have is on Messenger and Facebook. That's so funny. I love that. Thank you, Carol. Okay. So use geometry for makeup application. I don't use geometry for makeup application. I know what you're asking because of the topic. I think we're mainly focusing on health and beauty. But so as far as makeup, like non-toxic lines, there's now some really good non-toxic lines of makeup. And I think men, I want to always be sure I'm referring to men as well. If you're on camera a lot and you feel pasty, or you feel, you can always use the filters, which, that's fabulous. And that works too. But if you need to use a little bit of powder, there's a lot of really good brands out there that you can just lightly put some powder on, or a little blush or something. It's very simple. But Jane Iredale is great. And I can type that in. I like Jane Iredale. I actually have, I've been working with them for a while. I used to carry their products on my website. Ilia is fabulous. If you have a brand that you really like, please write that in the chat. Because I think there's some really phenomenal brands out there that are non-toxic. As a professional makeup artist, the only thing I find that those brands are not quite hitting is things like foundations and concealers. That's a really hard one because it needs to stay put with the lights being hot. And when people get nervous, they sweat. Especially, I found this to be the case with men. I've had men sit in front of the camera and Willetta is fabulous. Thank you. Bobbi Brown is not non-toxic, but Jones Road is. Deanna Jones Road. Thank you for shaking my memory there. But they just sweat profusely. So I have my own tricks to help it so that the sweat doesn't break through, and none of those are non-toxic. So it's hit and miss a little bit in that area. But I think in your everyday life, like if you're not on camera, there's a lot you can buy and shop as far as foundations. I think if you just want something that's non-toxic, I would say hit some of these brands and try them out. I would say I would go for a light to medium coverage for women for foundation. The heavy foundation, the full coverage, even if you have sun damage, hyperpigmentation, that sort of thing, don't try to cover it with foundation because it ends up looking heavy unless you go like towards MAC or towards something that's not non-toxic. But if you're going to be in the non-toxic arena, to really try to stay as light as sheer as possible with foundation, and then really just work on your skincare. With the slide about skincare, I think if you really want to have cell turnover quicker, which means you're going to have quicker results with say age spots or any sort of issues you might be having, it's to go to an esthetician and get peels done there and microdermabrasion. That's the most transformative and quick. But if you're not so interested in that, use your retinol, use your vitamin C. David Wolf's organic makeup, I don't know. I didn't know he was going to do that. He didn't mention that when he came in, but this was quite a few years ago. So maybe he's got something. I think I brought some Jane Iredale powder in, and that's what I put on him. He has a fabulous complexion. So all I needed to do was take the shine down. It wasn't like complicated, Lifeline by Alcione. Okay. Yep. Alcione's great. The blue button offers a bunch of options. Oh yes, it is. I've said it to everyone. Haven't I? Whoops. Yep. It's on everyone. The green banana powder. That's Ben Nye, RCMA, Alcione, like they all have green banana powder. For those of you who don't know, banana powder is slightly yellow. So men, this is a great point for you. If you have a lot of redness in your skin, how can you take that down? And if you buy banana powder, it's yellow, and skim that over your face before you go on camera, it's going to take the red out. Not entirely. You actually have to buy a green tint to take that out. That is not a non-toxic product, but it does. That gets more complicated. That's where it gets very technical. But just to kind of lightly take it out, the yellow banana powder is great. As far as finding a non-toxic banana powder, I have not found that. I haven't really looked though. So I can't really speak to that, but I think the brands that I know, but in my kit, I have the banana powder from Ben Nye, and it's great. It's inexpensive. It's like $12 for a huge thing of banana powder and lasts forever and ever. But it's not non-toxic. So, I pepper, and it's covering the green. Don't know how to say that in English. I don't know what you're trying to say there. Can you try again, Maria? I pepper it. So I do some non-toxic, some toxic. I mean, I try to go on the low toxicity scale. I do check on EWG. I think just go on EWG and see if what you're using is toxic or non-toxic. Because some brands are very low on the toxicity scale. If you don't know, the toxicity scale is like a 1 through 7. So it's a broader scale. So it's not like, black or white, right? It tends to be a variant depending on the brand, really, and where they're formulated, who did it. Many brands just go to these houses, or like 3 huge corporations that do make product, and brands go in. If you don't know how this is done, they go in, they say, I want a vitamin C serum. And they go, okay, here's your options. And they say, okay, make that one for me. And then they stick a label on it. Most brands do not formulate their own product. I don't care what they say. Most of them don't. So if you can find a brand that does that formulates their own, I think Walada does, or Walada. I'm not sure how to say that brand. I want to say they do. Most brands don't. So, you kind of got to do your homework into brands, like we have with everything now in our society. Everything you eat, you got to really do your homework. Okay, let's gather for the, oh yes, people of color. Absolutely. All right, let's go to the chat. Should I do that now, Stan? Should we just click over there? No, not now. Okay, great. So you've got it in the, he's providing that for later. Okay, awesome. Good to know. Okay, so women of color. DCM formulates products reasonably priced. Good. I know of DCM. So women of color, yes. So I think they, I think most of these clean, if you're asking about clean skincare for women of color, I can't speak to their foundations because I haven't experimented very much with the non-toxic community with women of color. You know, again, I do professional makeup. So when someone sits in my chair, I'm going to go for what I know isn't going to melt in front of the camera, which is professional grade products. I can match anybody that sits in my chair. It will not go ashy, because if you guys know, the more melanin in your skin, the more, you know, mostly people can go ashy if you're using products that don't have the right formulation with color and undertone. So women of color know this. This is a huge deal. So, you know, I can't really say, oh, go to this brand and they're going to have the best foundations, you know, for women of color. I use RCMA, and Ben and I are my two favorites for really hitting undertones perfectly. I mean, when I worked in DC, you know, I think half the people that came in were of color, not half, maybe not then, this was in the 90s. So, but a lot. And it was great because, you know, we had such a great array. But, you know, now I think you just have to go experiment. I do love the line. I did want to bring up a line and type it in here. This is one of my new favorites that is non-toxic. It's called Merit Beauty. They have really good options. This is to everyone. There we go. It's meritbeauty.com. I'm an affiliate for them because I like them so much. And I use them in quite a few videos. I like their foundations for everyday use. I'm not a fan of if you're on camera using them, but if you're just because I'm type A when it comes to products for on-camera talent, but for everyday life, it's what I use because it just goes on beautifully. It holds up. It looks really nice. They've got a great array of colors. So I think for women of color, I would really recommend giving that one a go. And I find their undertones to be pretty accurate. Okay, cool. Have I answered everybody's question? I want to be sure I'm not ignoring anything. Okay, so Carol Sue had mentioned, I recently read that eating chicken feet and crow's foot, which are high in collagen, is really good. So, okay, collagen. You know, I don't know. That's a good question. If you're going to eat chicken feet and get collagen, I think having a diet that's high in protein and eating a lot of green leafy vegetables, those are things that really make a big difference. And then taking your vitamin C supplements, vitamin D, zinc, magnesium, taking all the supplements I talked about earlier, really being into that helps your body to build collagen. I would say taking collagen supplements really doesn't do a whole heck of a lot when it comes to collagen. And I'm sorry to burst bubbles, but I've been reading research on this for a while. And, you know, I've read research. I got asked to do, just case in point, I got asked to do a video for a company on their new collagen supplement. And I read the ingredients and I was like, I can't, because it's not, no, like this is not going to do what you say it's going to do. So most of the time, collagen supplements are they just don't do all that much, and especially topical. I have, you know, companies say, oh, I put collagen in your topical product. That doesn't go beneath your, that can't get into the cell, right? Some companies say it does. My research shows it does not. I'm not a know-it-all with it. You know, do your own research, but I would say no. I think collagen is best built by taking a really great diet and protein. I eat a ton of protein. So I think that's, you know, and I'm sinking, right? I'm getting older. It's not like you're not going to age, but okay. So Mara asked, if beauty is 80% inner wellness, do you recommend working with a nutritionist? Social connection, obviously, you know, having a great social circle and taking care of I file that under taking care of yourself. So what do you need in order to be happy? What gives you balance in your life? I'm an introvert. I can be alone day after day after day. So my social needs are super duper low, but some people, more extroverts, our social needs are much higher. So you go with what works for you. I do think it makes a big difference. If you're happy, what makes you happy? Do I recommend working with a nutritionist? I think sometimes it can be incredibly helpful if you get a good one. I would ask other people, that's how I found the woman that I've been using for a million years now. And then a lot of times they want blood work. They want all sorts of things. I know sometimes that's not feasible. That's why I brought up using the pendulum book, because that's now really my go-to, because I know my body. I know what works for me. So I can feel, you know, I can kind of feel if I'm depleted. Oh, I need more of, you know, for me, it's usually protein. Okay, so finishing sprays are often applied on my face by professional makeup artists. Is that damaging in any way? I think that's a really good question. I've actually not done a whole lot of research on finishing sprays. I would say that I'm sure it has toxic ingredients in there. I've not seen a finishing spray in a non-toxic brand, which probably says a lot. Here's a newsflash. I don't use them. And I know a lot of professional makeup artists do. They're really big on it. I've used them. I used to use them quite a lot. And then I stopped because I didn't notice that big of a difference. And a lot of that has to do with the type of work that I did. So I do television. That's my main focus. So when someone's on television, they're on a show for maybe an hour. So that makeup needs to hold up for an hour. Normally, makeup I find holds up for an hour without any problem. I don't need to add a finishing spray. Now, if I did, say, weddings and parties, yeah, I would, because that makeup needs to look good for 12 hours. So it's a different market, right? So I think in your everyday life, I don't use it. But I'm very minimalistic. You'd be shocked at how much products I actually use on a daily basis. I'm super minimalistic, and it just feels like one more step. So airbrushing is great. I airbrushed for a long time. Now I don't. I use cream products. It's just my personal preference. I feel like I can control the quantity better with using cream products with a brush. That's just personal preference. I find airbrush can be a little bit heavy. I know makeup artists that swear by them, so I really think that's personal preference. Can you demo with a pendulum for a question in your biofield and its intelligence? That's fabulous. Sure. I don't know. Is that where everybody wants to go here? I'm wondering, you know what, I'll tell you what, I'll bring mine up. It's right here. I actually have one here, and I've got one upstairs. So this is one. Somebody gave this to me at Gaia. So it does it by itself. So I just turn it and ask a question, and you ask questions according to a 180. So in other words, it's probabilities. You're not asking yes and no questions. You're asking probabilities. So for example, how depleted am I in vitamin C, internally taken vitamin C? So if you have this on the pendulum book, or you draw a scale, right? So you can see what percentage, and you spin it and you say, what percentage am I depleted in vitamin C? And this says I'm not. Basically, it says 0. So that's how I use it. And I think you can watch a lot of videos. Like go to Jean Slater. She's got a lot of videos on YouTube. Actually, I don't know how many she has. I know she has a few. And see how she does it. She has written a book as well. I know there's other pendulum teachers out there, but I highly recommend doing some research on that and even hiring her to work with you. It's fairly intricate and involved. So I think it is really, really helpful. Yes, we could do that, Cynthia. You want to program it? Yes, that's right. There's some intricacies in there. I don't really feel like we should cover right now, but I do think it's a fabulous. It's fabulous. Carol Sue, I've only seen the infomercial since I don't use anything. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people in the spirituality community, from what I've noticed when I was at Gaia, most people really did not wear a lot of makeup. It was not, people would sit down and most of the time would say, not much, don't put much on me. Because we want to, and so this is a big topic. I didn't really hit on this very much, but we want to be taken seriously, right? So sometimes as women, we can feel like if I'm really have a lot of makeup on, if I'm really done up, I'm not going to be taken seriously. And this is a cultural phenomena, and it's super unfortunate, but it's true. I hope even Fox News with their heavily made up anchors, they're Barbie dolls, right? And I think we don't want to be that. We want to be listened to and believed. I do see that starting to shift. I noticed that at Gaia, I had more and more women coming in, really wanting to look as beautiful as they could. And I would always reflect back to who I was working with how they wanted to be and what they were like as people. So, for the most part, they just really didn't want to look because they wanted to be taken seriously. They didn't want to be too showy because of judgment in the community. And again, I find this very unfortunate because, we should be okay, right? To just be really glamorous and fabulous and, but it's not for the most part. And I find that a little bit upsetting as a makeup artist, but I did have people come on towards the end of my time there where I would, really go to town. Like they'd say, do some false eyelashes and, really, make me look stunning. And okay. And if they had the wardrobe for it and it fit in context with who they were with and all of that, absolutely, I would do it. So I think that the being taken seriously and wearing makeup and how much you wear in this community is a little bit dicey, of course. So, personally speaking, a lot of the people in my audience are not in the spirituality community. So I do a lot of glamorous looks in my videos, and they tend to go very, very well because as women, especially my crowd as older women, really want to be beautiful, right? And on the slideshow, you saw the woman Janice, the first slide, she's 68, 16. No, she's in her 60s. She's like 68. And you just saw how much she looked incredible. And I think as we get older, we want to know we're still beautiful. We can do it, right? We can dress up and look fabulous. It's amazing. It's part of what we possess as women, is this great ability to just be fabulous. And why not, but if that's not you, then obviously don't do that. Right. I would say I am incredibly low key as a human being. If you met me on a street, you may not recognize me. Like, I don't dress up. I don't really do my makeup. That's just me. I'm very, very low key. But if you are, that's you, be you. That's always how I viewed this. So, all right, you can ask, it's the biosphere. Okay. So predicting the future. Okay. We're going to get into how can you get rid of jowls? Oh my gosh. What a great question. Okay. I was just talking to my housemate about this last night. We were going like this. I'm starting to get them. So, it's one of the harder areas of aging, since we're talking about aging, is our neck area and our jowls. So it's tough. This is a harder area. So I'll tell you what I do is whatever I use on my face, I use on my neck. So for example, the products that I talked about, a vitamin C, a retinol, alpha hydroxy acids, I think I mentioned a few others, essential fatty acids, whatever products I'm using, I put from here all the way down my décolleté. And men, this goes for you as well, top to bottom, just coat it everywhere, because this is a part of your face. And I think what we do is we neglect it, right? So I just take it all the way down. Everything's all the way down. And even retinol. So retinol, it's vitamin A. It's not going to hurt you. Put it on your neck and it'll help to keep those cells rejuvenating. No matter what, we're going to age here. And no matter, I do a ton of stuff on my face. So I think my face is going to age less quickly than my neck. It's just how it goes. This is a tough area. I would say, my housemate and I were discussing the fact that, neither one of us ever want to get anything done, but if we ever broke down and did anything, it'd be that area, because there's really nothing you can do about it as you get older. Not nothing, but minimal. So jowls are just going to happen. I think, again, having great health, really taking good care of your inner wellness, your body, is going to make a difference across the board. It's really going to help. Facial massage is a wonderful thing as well. I would say you can Google that and watch some videos on facial massage. I've known people that have said it has a huge impact. I'm a little bit too impatient to do facial massage, so I haven't done very much of that, and I can't really speak to it, but I've heard many good things about it. Also, doing LED light therapy can be fabulous. Face yoga, décolleté, that's the French word for your chest. I have no idea how to spell that. Sorry about that. But it makes a big difference. If you go into LED red light therapy, I have a mask that I use sometimes because I have all the gadgets, right? Because this is my field. But you can also go to an esthetician and they can do that. But that really helps with regeneration and cell turnover. And that can help jowls and your neck. You can do it for your neck as well. Anything that you do, just do on your neck and it's going to make a difference. I'm very fit. So fitness makes a big difference. I've noticed if you are doing resistance training of some sort or anything that's really helping your fitness, because getting your energy flowing, right, breathing, that sort of thing is really going to have an impact on your on your whole body, including your neck. So I would say, give that a go. Face tape or face yoga? Face tape, face tape's interesting. I've played with it. And I've had women come on camera and say, would you please use face tape on my neck? Or please use face tape on the video. I'm reticent to use it with people. And one of the reasons for that is I think it can make a big difference. It's great, especially with your neck, right? Because it's going to lift it up here and it's going to just take away what happens to us right here, the jiggly bits, as I like to call them. So it does help. I think if you do it too much, say in the corners, and suddenly you get this, surprise look and look really crazy, right? When you're in front of the camera. So it's a little tricky. The other thing that always makes me nervous about face tape is if it comes off while you're in front of a camera or you're talking to people at a party. And this is a risk. I actually put it on myself when I first started using it and tried it for several hours, wore it around. It didn't come off. It stayed on. But I have a lot of oils in my skin because I take a lot of omega-369s and black currant oil and E and A and D. And, I take all these oils. So my skin is, as you can see, I don't know if you can see, but I'm oily already. So oily skin, the sticking factor is a little bit harder on oily skin. So be sure your skin is very dry. You can use a little bit of witch hazel or toner or something to make your skin very dry before you stick it on. And that'll help it stay on a little bit longer. Okay, Stan says, invite Jim to come back on. He's got a great way to summarize. I have a feeling we need to summarize. And okay, so what's the best face tape? I don't know. That's a good question. I'm trying to remember the one I used. I don't have it here with me. I don't remember. I think just look it up. I think it doesn't cost very much. I want to say it's like $20 for maybe a set of 3 or 4. So it's not a lot of money. If they're more than that, I would question, especially if you're just trying it out. So I would just look it up. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't think it's I'm not as specific on that as like maybe a foundation or something. And there's Jim.
Thank you, Suzanne. You are encyclopedic.
I am encyclopedic. That is true.
I feel a bit overwhelmed.
I'm sorry.
I'm
sorry.
No, just with the scope and breadth of your intricate knowledge on additives. And I actually want to spend a few minutes, not so much on cosmetics, but on the nature of beauty itself. And I would love to have you share with us how you, after all these years of contemplating beauty in the human form, how would you define beauty? What would you say beauty is?
I think it's an essence. And that essence we all possess. So the idea that someone is beautiful and someone is not beautiful is that's just cultural. We have cultural ideas of what beauty is. Like the beauty is the girl whose thighs don't hit in the middle, or the guy who has, the ripped abs. That's cultural. But I think true beauty, real beauty is an essence. No one would say a child isn't beautiful, right? Because their essence just glows. And I think part of spirituality is tapping into that. That's what, for me, meditation, I tap into the light and tap into love. And that is the essence. So that's what I tap into. And when I really tap in, it's like, of course, it opens up your whole field. It opens up your eyes. I become very outer spacey, right? When I do that, because it's like, you're just tapping into the other realms. It's wonderful. And that essence, not that you have to go to other realms to find that essence, but I think whatever that looks like for you, to tap into your inner beauty, what makes you unique and beautiful. And for me, it's your thoughts, it's your soul, it's what you came here to do. It's all those things, but I believe it is an inner core thing.
Good. And how would you relate beauty with love? There's various schools of thought, over time about the relationship between beauty and love, and whether beauty is the primary quality of the universe, or whether love is. So I just wonder how you would understand that relationship between love on the one hand and beauty.
It's a great question. I really appreciate that question. I think beauty and love, well, love is the highest vibration in the universe. So I always turn to love first because it is the highest vibration we're all aspiring to is love. I think beauty is right in there. I think beauty and light, those are things that are just, they vibrate in such a high energy, energetic way. So that's why being surrounded by beauty is so helpful and so wonderful, and why having plants on the table is so great, and why taking care of your health, your mind, your body, in all of those ways really help you radiate beauty and love and light and just all those high energy things. I don't see beauty in the worldly realm of she's pretty, she's not, like what I brought up before. I don't actually buy into that at all. And I think it's important that we don't equate beauty with love necessarily. I think because in a worldly sense, right? Because then we get very confused, right? We see the politician in front and he's beautiful, like Obama, right? He was beautiful, but there's something going on there, right? There's some things that aren't so hot. So I think we get very floored by beauty. And that's why people like me have a job, because we're more willing to listen to people who are attractive. But I think what I've learned, I guess, in my years is it really isn't, it's not how you look. We have to take that and put it aside. It's not that it's irrelevant. It's that we have to kind of take it and put it aside. Because we're so easily maneuvered and manipulated, I think, sometimes by that. So I think the healthy aspect of beauty is we're all beautiful. We all have a beautiful essence. But then I think in a worldly sense, we got to take it aside and say, okay, what's this person really saying?
Yeah, and given that, what would be your position on, like, say, plastic surgery or Botox, where people actually sculpt their bones or their skins or their butts or their faces or their different parts of their body? If beauty is the essence, then what would be your comment on people who actually want to change the physical aspects and leave the essence sort of as it is?
Right. I think as a society, one of the things I'm encouraged by is we're moving away from that, which I love, because I see it as driven by, like the story I told earlier about the CNN anchor who gets fired because she turned 50, because she wasn't willing to have injections done. And so it's a very toxic, negative. I think we can all pretty much agree with that viewpoint. And yet I would say the majority of people I worked on when I was at the networks did that, including men. And absolutely. Sure. Absolutely. Now at Gaia, much less, but you still had a few people, and that's okay. I think what I would like to see. Okay, the number one thing I don't like about it is it's toxic. So, you get into the Botox, it's botulism, fillers, same thing. They're toxic. So we're injecting toxins in. We don't know the long range detriment of using these. I did a whole video on why I don't use Botox and fillers or plastic surgery. One of the main things is, and this is no shocker, but pharmaceuticals say they haven't done any long-term research on the detriments of doing these things. Yeah. I think they have, and they won't talk about it because they know it's bad. Because if it was good, they would talk about it. So I actually think it's a pharmaceutical thing, flub, lie. And I don't like the idea that we're not good enough as we are right now, and that we need to somehow cut ourselves up or inject ourselves in order to be beautiful. I think it's ridiculous. And I think from a soul level, we can say that's absolutely crazy. It's crazy. From a practical level, if there are jobs on the line and you need to use some injectables, I wouldn't judge that. I totally get it. Yeah.
Well, good. Well, listen, Suzanne, thank you so much. You've been, again, encyclopedic in terms of the information you've shared to all of us about cultivating our beauty. And so I want to thank you for it, and welcome everyone to the after session chat. You'll see the links in the chat box. And Suzanne is going to join, as is Cynthia Bledsoe, the overall convener of this 5-day program. So please make sure that you feel welcome. And then we'll see everybody tomorrow for the 5th and final session of our 5-day program on numbers and harmony. Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you, everyone. Bye
Thank
for now.
you. Bye.